So here we are. This book basically begins with a mission, and the mission goes wrong, and Percy literally watches good friend literally be blown up in the first chapter. You very sad, and this to illustrate how serious things have gotten, in terms of various ancient monsters rising again, like the most feared enemy in Bane of Olympus rises so that the Olympians have to stop him, and he's even more of a threat. Typhon, which is why there was really no help coming. Well, I like how it was set up that, like, on a different note, I think the reason why this series improves upon Harry Potter as a whole is because in Harry Potter there was you just hated all of the normal mundane people, whereas in this one you actually liked the mundane people, so you have a reason. We have a reason to defend the mundane instead of just saying F them. Anyway, of course, we finally actually get to read the constantly alluded to thing that and the great prophecy, and it's quite a doozy. And this is the first time that Percy gets to be. This is the first time Percy actually gets to visit Poseidon's underwater kingdom. And unfortunately, though he was actually, like, the Titan of the ocean, was neutral the first time, but this time he's finally chosen to rise. And he and Poseidon have an epic, mostly off-page battle, but anyway. So, in terms of how this connects, in terms of how this connects thematically, this one is focused on Achilles as an allusion to Achilles because of this huge war going on, like the Trojan War. In fact, they actually name drop the Trojan War, and like Percy literally gains the curse of Achilles, and another character named Clarice is really pissed that her dear close friend. Were they gay? Unfortunately, this was before. This was her lady friend. Was she gay for her? Did she like her lady friend? Unfortunately, this book was published before it was okay to have homosexuality, before it was even legal to have such a thing in a book that's not for adults. So we'll never know, and we can only take the writer at his word and assume he isn't lying. But anyway, that's beside the point. So yeah, basically, Clarice has her dear friend literally steal her armor, and then her friend gets killed and she goes on a rage, and it's such a cool moment. And of course, and honestly, the best part is when we finally, like, the underworld god finally decides to make a difference, because this is actually the first time we see the the Persephone and Demeter dynamic, which is quite funny because Hades is just there in the middle. Anyway, like, to illustrate how bad things are getting as a whole, despite it being summer when this is happening, Persephone is hiding in the underworld. That's how bad it's gotten. And there's a few chapters that are about figuring out the main antagonist's past to understand how to defeat him. Sounds familiar. Anyway, but most of it is just literally a giant battle to defend, because the gate to Olympus is at the Empire State Building, and they won't be the enemy army won't be able to access it from the air. So that's the main purpose. And honestly, it's such a good ending that it's honestly such a solid ending. But I haven't reviewed the epilogue book, so Like, honestly, the one thing I have to say is that once the conflict is over, Percy straight up tells the gods, "You have to fix these problems. We have to change the status quo so that we won't have more, so that the demigods deserve better, particularly the unclaimed half-bloods, and to just don't be a deadbeat parent." And that was such a great cathartic moment. Not to throw shade at different urban fantasy kids book series where nothing changes after where the status quo never changes, but that's beside the point. So anyway,